Yes.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the next episode of the Frisco Report. What's going on, Mike?
What's going on, Joe?
It's the day. Today's the big day. Training camp time, baby. You know how it goes. So a lot of news for the day. Let's get right into it, Mike. What you got on the deck here for news? I know we got a couple of things we want to hit on before we get started on the main topics, but go ahead and hit it up, Mike.
On the deck, we got two players opting out. DeMarcus Lawrence, what is he going to do? What is the high-risk conduct clause in the NFL? Antoine Woods signs a tender. What does that mean? Tyron Crawford, Dontarian Poe, they went somewhere today, and we're going to talk about that. So right off the bat, Joe, two players opt out on the Dallas Cowboys roster. Maurice Kennedy and Stephen Wadry. He's a wide receiver, undrafted guy.
Yeah.
Make sure you say the last name for the viewers.
Stephen Guidry.
Guidry?
Yeah, Guidry.
Yeah. These guys opt out. DeMarcus Lawrence had a lot of concern. He's in. He's reported. What does this mean, Joe?
It's good. You know, this was kind of, and I kind of figured that he would, right? Because it was like DeMarcus Lawrence, he's not gonna miss going to battle with his boys. But you go back and you look at the story from before. You know, it's talking about the issue, all right, of his family and that kind of thing. So. That's what the deal is, you know. So he wants to come back, and he wants to make sure that there's no issues that could have him put his family in danger, especially with the new birth of his new kid. He doesn't want to miss time with that, you know.
Yes. We're getting a lot of chat. Major echo.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to do something else here. Well, I think I fixed it. I don't hear it no more.
You don't hear it anymore?
I don't hear it anymore. I think we fixed it.
Let us know in the comments, guys. Are you still hearing the echo effect? Let us know if it's cleared up for you guys. It might just be the servers running kind of weird
fixed
right now. Okay, good.
All right.
So the issue with DeMarcus Lawrence, you know, you have to understand that the family does come first at the end of the day, but you know, the NFL did come out with these testing protocols in place that looked like it satisfied a lot of the players, you know. So that's what it is. What's your thoughts on that, Mike?
It's smart by the players, right? So the NFLPA and the NFL, they got together, they came to this agreement. And as fans, we shouldn't target these two guys. The one from Mississippi State and Maurice Kennedy. We shouldn't target these guys. Oh, you're scared, you're a wuss, because these guys have families. And we talked about this right here on the Frisco Report many shows back, that yes, we want football, but how can we keep the players safe? And the NFLPA and the NFL, they did this right, Joe. They gave these players the option. Now, like the rookie out of Mississippi State, since he's opting out, he only gets $150,000. That's it. That's all the payment he gets this year. Maurice Kennedy, at being a veteran, he gets $350,000 plus a little bit of extra pay depending on how the season rolls out. So Maurice Kennedy ain't really missing much. He was only guaranteed $1.2 million for that 1 year deal with the Cowboys. So when players opt out, I think it's a great thing because they're putting family first, and that's how they have to do it. Now, DeMarcus Lawrence, he was having concerns about it. Maybe he feels a little bit more comfortable with his pregnant wife going in, right? What is it? 3 tests, 4 days, you're allowed in the building. This training camp is going to be one of the ages. It's going to be a very unique training camp. And DeMarcus Lawrence feels very comfortable that he can go to this training camp, get all this testing done, and feel safe inside the Star while they're doing what they love and taking care of their family. Some people have high-risk families with underlying health conditions, and sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Yeah, that's really what a lot of this is. You know, like we talked about in the last podcast. you do see a lot of this, not only with NFL superstars, but families. And you see a lot of combined families where you have several generations living together. Maybe your mother's there, maybe your grandmother's there, So we know football players like to take care of their grandmothers and other family members. So, yeah, it could be totally justified. I totally get it. It is the same. We kind of thought that Maurice Kennedy would be in the mix. I had him in the mix there, competing along with some of the other cornerbacks. But this does help out with some of these other camp battles that we kind of thought some of these guys might have been out of the mix, or have a little bit more tougher time of making a case for making the squad. Now, Mike, so what we're finding out is the rookies, they came in last week. Veterans are in the building now. They have to pass. They have to have 3 negative tests to enter the building. So this is where they're at right now. So right now, the vets, they're doing the testing, and then they're doing in-classroom work from what I can tell, from what Jane Slater's been telling us. So what's your thoughts on that? Have you heard anything else on that, Mike?
No, I haven't. And this is the reality of it, guys. They're not going to go in and start running routes, and you're not going to see training camp live on DC.com, right? These guys haven't even been to the Star in Frisco since February. So the Cowboys got to be smart in strength and conditioning, number one. What's their diets like? Where are their bodies at? Have they been taking care of themselves? Are they low-key faded throughout this whole offseason? The Dallas Cowboys, and the NFL period, Joe, they got to make sure that that these players' bodies are right to even endure a full padded practice. These are grown men. These are 300-pound men. This isn't high school.
Great point. And this dovetails into what I'm talking about. We're talking about players coming into shape and this and that. Well, like we mentioned earlier, 2 players on PUP, Tyron Crawford and Dontari Poe. The one that is really concerning to me is Tyron Crawford. Being reported, hip soreness. He has 2 hips hurt. I mean, both his hips are bad. Hip soreness is continuing to plague him. $8 million price tag. Is it time to cut the cord here and maybe flip that money and maybe readjust some money around and bring in Emerson Griffin?
Let's backtrack a little bit, right? Yes, he's on PUB, and it looks like this is the career of Tyron Crawford, right? But it really isn't. He did rehab throughout this offseason. Players don't have full practices probably till the middle of August, a couple of weeks before the season opener, right? And so I think that the Cowboys are handling things right. Was this kind of expected? If Jason Garrett was still here, I think that he would still be on PUB, and cut Crawford. But I think it's just precautionary. There's nothing to rush into, because when you're on PUB, you're still doing sideline work. It's basically the same thing, but it maximizes, because the Cowboys got to go from 90 to 80 of those cuts. So it saves potentially 2 guys that the Cowboys might really, really like that they don't want to cut. And so maybe that's kind of the transition there too, Joe.
My deal is, that's fine and dandy on the short term, but for long term, I'm concerned about Crawford. He's been missing a lot of time last couple of seasons. The hips are not bad. I get the captain and the locker room and that kind of thing where a lot of players like him and that kind of. But if you're not on the field, you're not helping the team out. We don't know the status of Randy Gregory as of yet. It's shrouded in mystery, like we said. So hopefully we get something here. Camp is here, and Gregory, there's nothing about the reinstatement as of yet. So if we were to roll today and play a game, there's no Crawford. You have D-Law, and then Aldon Smith probably, and then your rotation is taking a little bit of a hit there. The rotation, if you had to play a game right now, Lawrence, Aldon Smith, Dorrance Armstrong, the rookie Bradley and I. So getting a little bit thin there as far as a quality rotation at defensive end. So What's your thoughts on that, Mike?
No, I think you brought up great points, and you're not at fault at this. Yes, he's a $8 million price tag. Availability is best ability, but Darryl in the comment section right here, he was talking about he really hasn't even missed time up until last year. And if you look at Tank Lawrence with the chemistry of a Tyron Crawford, that's up for argument. Tank needs Crawford just as much as Crawford needs Tank. And who knows, Alden Smith could help Lawrence out. Bradley and I could help Lawrence out. But when you Dontarian Poe, who's on pub too, newly Cowboy, did he not pass a physical, or was this a clause in his contract when he signed with the Cowboys? But you brought up good points, but Tank Lawrence works very well with a Tyron Crawford.
Hopefully he'll get through this. Hopefully this isn't just something that's going to knock him out, career ending. I mean, this hip injuries are not something that you can really play off. Hip flexors, anybody that's ever had one, very painful hip surgery. So Dontari Poe, he's dealing with a thigh issue, so probably like a strain or something like that. I'm not worried about that one. But long term, the Crawford issue, a little bit concerned there. Nothing to get alarmed about quite yet, because it is early. But we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Now, we did mention Antoine Woods. They finally signed him. I want to know what the backstory is with this, because he was an exclusive rights free agent. Basically, the Cowboys had to say, yes, we want to bring him back. That's what they said. And Crawford took his time. Antoine Woods took his time to sign that tender. So he signed it, and now he's in the mix. So what's your thoughts on Antoine Woods' impact in this rotation? Where do you think he stands with everybody else that's in the mix right now, Mike?
Well, first of all, let's talk about why it took so long for him to even sign that restricted tender anyway. Yeah. That's I've never seen that, and maybe COVID played a part in that too. But they got free agents signed with COVID. They did all these things, so that's just kind of weird to me that he signed it on the day of training camp. I don't know if he was trying to prove something or not, but that right there is just weird to me. But it's depth, right? With the COVID, with players opting out in the National Football League, you need as much depth as you possibly can have on a 55-man roster. And that Antoine Woods isn't the best, and he isn't the worst. He's kind of mediocre. He's more of a bridge player in a sense. But bridge players at this moment in time can help a football team because of that quality, low-tier, high-tier quality depth that Woods can bring, Joe.
I like this comment here by Daryl. Oh, Joe McCoy will do wonders for D-Law. Absolutely. I love this comment because not only will he do wonders for your defensive ends, D-Law, but your linebackers. There was a lot of pressure on our linebackers and some of the scrutiny that Jalen Smith got. It was just not really warranted. There were some plays here and there. I get that. But 142 tackles, led the NFC East. Jalen Smith's a boss of bosses. Now, what I like about it is the larger guys, they let your linebackers roam around, hit those gaps, knock those running backs around, get to the quarterback if you want to do a blitz. Jalen Smith has that in his bag of tricks, going back all the way to Notre Dame. So he can get to the quarterback, hit those gaps. Very cerebral player, There's a video out there, Jalen Smith, that he did with NFL, where he breaks down his film and his thought process. He covers a triangle through the guard, through the center, and the backfield, and he keeps that those gaps, on his assignments. So he's very assigned oriented. I just can't wait to see what these defensive tackles bring to the table and help these star linebackers, because they're great. We're talking about LVE, Leighton Vander Esch. I think it'll help him immensely as well. One of the best, if not the best tackler on the team, Jalen Smith. They're just going to feed off of each other. And then the general, Sean Lee.
Great points, Joe. But in this defense, in this Mike Nolan defense, though, I don't think we'll see a lot of Jalen Smith playing that traditional Mike linebacker position. I think you're going to see a lot of rushing by Jalen Smith, getting to the quarterback, Jalen Smith just made all top 100 players. And a lot of his highlights on that top 100 players, that highlight reel was what, Joe? Running, blitzing to the quarterback. That's his strength at Notre Dame, as you well know. Big Notre Dame fan over here, Cowboys Bluff. But the top 100 highlight reel was him rushing to the quarterback, and Mike Nolan ain't no dummy. He ain't washed out, Rod Marinelli-esque. Mike Nolan's Mike Nolan, and Jalen Smith is going to go get that quarterback. But Darryl makes a great point about Gerald McCoy helping out DeMarcus Lawrence, the tank.
Yeah, here's a great question here by Jared Odell. McGovern will be starting center. I guess he's asking if he'll be the starting center. So, Jared, great question. I think the competition is really wide open right there. You know, obviously, for me, I think if you had to play a game right now, it's Joe Looney. But Tyler Biadasz, he's in the mix. I think that's what they prefer. McGovern, I think they kind of prefer to see if he can beat out Connor Williams. So I'm thinking that's what's going to happen here, and I'm thinking that's what they're hoping. What's your thoughts, Mike?
I think it's Joe Looney's proven. He's a proven vet. He's played that position for 16 games with the Cowboys, and really that's it. You know, he's played guard a little bit for the Cowboys because Travis Frederick, before that syndrome that he had, the immune body syndrome that he had, you know, he wasn't missing games. But the 16 games that Joe Looney was there, there's tape, there's study that, you know, Joe Philbin, the offensive line coach, can go and get that studied up. But I don't think McGovern hasn't proven anything in the National Football League except he can tear a pec. That's the only thing McGovern's proved right now. Joe Looney's going to be filling in. Biadasz will be second string, not for long though. And then McGovern, I think you'll see him work more at guard and a little bit of center on the third teams. But there's no preseason game, so you really got to pay attention to the training camp and see where they're even going to work him at. But that's what I'm thinking.
Absolutely. Great point. And I totally agree with that assessment, Mike. I think that's what they're going to look at. And I wouldn't be surprised if McGovern does get a look at here and there at center. They gave him some looks last camp, you know, just to take a look, you know, and they like that versatility. Obviously, that's why they drafted him. I think he's played he can play every position on that line. Here's another great question here by 215 Khalil. How many running backs will we keep, Mike?
Well, they just cut one, Chung, I think.
Jordan Chung, that's right. He got cut. That's right.
Yeah, Jordan Chung just got cut. But you got to go back to the running back situation. There's already rumors that CeeDee Lamb's going to get touches in a running game anyway. You know, that Tavon Austin, Ty Montgomery, you know, kind of tweak there. But, you know, Zeke, Tony Pollard, automatic. And it all depends. You got 55 guys. Do you want to keep 3 running backs? And what Chung, we thought maybe this would be the guy, but Cowboys got an undrafted free agent that you like. What was his name?
Jet Anderson. And this is where I think if they go a little deep at running back, they might go 3, and it'll be Jet Anderson, possibly the guy that Coach Fossil might like in the return game. Did some good work there at TCU with the Horned Frogs, and he has that ability. You know, he's pretty good with the ball, has pretty decent speed, obviously, and that's a guy to keep an eye on. Jet Anderson. Okay.
Yeah, there you go, guys. I knew Joe had something up his sleeve. I just couldn't think of it. But let's shift back here, and let's talk about the high risk clause, Joe, where teams can punish players for doing stupid things, I guess you could say. And it's almost like a simple NFL contract, right? There's some players that can't ski. There's some players that can't get on four-wheelers. But every player right now in the National Football League with this COVID pandemic, they can't go to indoor nightclubs with more than 15 people in that club, right?
Yeah.
They can't be in an indoor bar with more than 15 people, other than to pick up food. They can't be in indoor house parties, Dak Prescott, with more than 15 people. Indoor concerts, entertainment, they can't go to that unless there's less than 15 people. So what do you make of this? Is it back to our first topic of keeping players safe? What do you think about the high risk clause right now, Joe, with the NFL?
Yeah, and this kind of addresses the question here that we're looking at here on the screen by No Ma'am. Our training camp's going to be in the bubble. The way they have it right now, they're not. They're giving the players this leeway to, once they're done, they go back home. And this is what Mike's talking about. Some of these rules that they can't violate. Going to a club with 15 or more people. And Texas has been really bad about this. Like, a lot of people are going to the bars and this and that, and I totally get it. People want to socialize, and they feel that their immune system is good enough. But for NFL players to keep this season going, we're already seeing the MLB, baseball. They're kind of struggling here. The Florida Marlins got hit with 19 players that got positive for COVID, so they're kind of struggling to can they even field the team to play a game. So let's hope that doesn't become a trend. Hopefully not. This is something that won't happen at the NFL, because MLB rosters, I feel like they have pretty good depth. NFL, you're at 53, 55 right now after roster cuts, but it's yeah, I feel like they should. So far the NBA seems to be the one that has really done a really good job with this. I mean, of course, you have the one or two guys here that kind of want to go be maverick and go to a strip bar or whatever it is that I think it was Lou Williams or one of these guys went off campus and kind of got in trouble for it. But NBA, I think, has done really well. But that is a bubble. They're there at Disney, ESPN, right? NFL doesn't have anything like that in place, so they're giving their players that leash, a little bit of a, hey, we're gonna entrust you guys with this. Don't mess this up. So I don't know, Mike. What do you think, man? Do you think this is something that's gonna work, or do you think things are gonna start falling apart here?
If my job tells me not to do something because it can affect my pay that week, I'm not going to go do it because I want my paycheck that week. And NFL players have to look at this too, the exact same way as any normal job. And it's smart, because if players are truly concerned about their families, they wouldn't be doing this in the first place, Joe. And but players, 20, 21-year-olds are getting drafted. They just signed rookie contracts. They just got, what's his name? Just got a $25 million sign-on bonus with the Bengals. They're getting these paychecks now. They're 20, 21 years old. They want to go have fun. But the NFL is like, wait a minute, rookie. Not this year. Not this year. And I think it's very smart by the NFL, and it keeps everybody safe. Patrick Mahomes made a statement that in Kansas City, it's airtight. There's no room for error. With the NFLPA rules, the NFL, the CBA agreement, all that, it's airtight, and every facility should be that way. You look at the Rams. They got 4 or 5 practice fields now over there at their facility for social distancing and what have you. And so, if the NFL is doing all these extra measures to stay in place, and the NFL says all you got to do is abide by these rules, and you'll make money, we'll make money. It's a fair handshake. Let's go to 2021, right? And I think the NFL has to, and I think the NFL is smart for doing it, and the players just have to go out there and get it done. Follow those rules.
Yeah, that's all it is. So we'll see how it shakes out. I'm sure we're going to hear more news. I think the count was 21 so far have tested positive around the league, which is really relatively a low number considering how many players are in the NFL. So we'll keep an eye on that one there. As far as other things that are coming out here from the league, it's going to be a work in progress. This is new territory for everybody. It seems like these pro organizations are all handling this in a different kind of way, and we're kind of just throwing a net out there and seeing which process is going to work better. The NBA, I think they have a little bit more of an edge because their season was already coming to an end. So they're not all the teams are in the bubble. This is really just teams that are vying for the seeding for the playoffs, right? This is what the NBA is doing. It's a lot of these teams didn't even make it. So a little bit different story. MLB, I think we're kind of seeing what it could happen with the NFL, but we'll see what happens there, Mike.
You talk about the Major League Baseball, and earlier this offseason, I talked about I want to see what other leagues do and how they handle COVID, and I think baseball got it wrong. And it's hard to compare baseball to football. It's apples to oranges, right? Baseball, they play almost day in, day out. Football, they see each other once a week, and that's going to help you as long as they say isolated. Facility home, game day, fly in the plane, go play your game, come back. There's really no room for error. There's really not loose guidelines here. It's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah. I'm curious I'm wondering if since Zeke had this already, and supposedly if you get this, you get the antibodies and you can handle it getting it again. But now you're kind of hearing stories out there that people could get reinfected. A few months later, I guess the antibodies, they kind of weaken, they kind of leave your body and you're susceptible to getting it again. So I imagine Zeke is probably still getting tested, although he already had it. So I'm sure we might even hear some of that. Von Miller as one of the other early players that got it too. So it'll be interesting to see if any of these players test positive again after having it early, getting over it. Do they get positive again? So a little bit of a case study, from the NFL. So this might actually help out the general population as far as, hey, some of these players are coming back positive after already beating it, and they get it again. You know what I'm saying? So this whole thing is very interesting to me. But let's get back to football. The questions here about the defense. I covered the rookies, the defensive players. Thank you guys for checking out that video. That was a lot of fun to do. The consensus around, the fans here are that Trayvon Diggs and Neville Gallimore are probably your top two players that are going to hit the ground running and that kind of thing. So what's your thoughts on that, Mike? I want to get your thoughts on that. How do you feel about these rookies? Who do you think is going to have the biggest impact?
Yeah, I was on that premiere video, and I was like, Diggs is my guy, and I was part of that consistency you took because I really believe 31 flavors will do a lot better than our previous 31. And that's technique wise, that's sticky coverage. I'm not calling him Byron Jones. I'm not calling him the senator by any means. I want Trayvon Diggs to come in here and make his own name for himself. And I think he will do that at a high level, Joe, at a very high level. Talk about Neville Gallimore. I think we talked about a couple weeks ago. He has a fellow Boomer Sooner and Gerald McCoy to go teach him and mentor him and rotate with them, right? Because they say they play the exact same position. And I think that's going to be phenomenal for a guy like Neville Gallimore. Bradley and how does he come in? Does he let his arm length get the best of him against a guy like Tyron Smith, or does he go battle and eventually you might beat him? Eventually, you might. It's kind of hard to beat Tyron Smith, who also made the top 100 players. But I like those three guys: Bradley and Trayvon Diggs, and Gallimore.
Great point on Anai. It's going to be a good battle, and we talked about this well. Tyron Smith, I think the chink in the armor are the speed rushers, and Anai has that great first step. So the length can probably keep Anai off, but that first step, if he can get around them, those are going to be good battles to watch. The Lunatic has a great question in here about the interceptions from last year. Last year we had 7 interceptions. What number of interceptions will be good number for our defense? A great question, the Lunatic.
A good number to go to a Super Bowl, or a good number just to end off the season?
Probably, I guess, for the season. We definitely want to get more than 7.
Yeah, to be in the Super Bowl or to have a Super Bowl caliber defense, you need 40 plus sacks, and you need about 25 interceptions and maybe 10 fumbles. I think that makes a good Super Bowl defense right there.
I mean, if you can get 25 interceptions, that's incredible. I mean, that's a lot there. But from what we're seeing here with this team, the Lunatic, I would say, what's a good number for our defense? I would say let's double that. Let's get that up to 14 at least. Because single digit interceptions off the top of my head, I can't even remember who got those 7. Jordan Lewis, I think, comes to mind. Who else? Sean Lee, maybe one of the linebackers.
Sean Lee got one, yeah. Jeff Heath.
Yeah, Jeff Heath. So that just doesn't cut it. And we talk about to get to the next level, this defense can't be average or good. It's got to be elite. We can't keep fumbling around. And the defense was still, rated in the top 15 for 2 years in a row. So it's not like the defense is awful, but it's not quite good enough to get you over that hump. Especially if you're dealing with some issues here and there on offense. The defense can help you get over some of those games. You know what I mean? So, got to get better on defense for sure. Great question, the Lunatic. Let's see what else we have here in the comments. Appreciate everybody jumping in here in the chat box. Everybody online, appreciate all you guys. Great conversations here, everybody.
Absolutely.
Just blown up. Garrett wasted so much talent as a coach. Absolutely. I totally agree. I've said that a billion times. Yeah, I agree with that. Jay Riffin. And so this is another, people are talking about this right now because, people, they are talking about this thing about here we go again with Crawford on pup, the hip. Is he going to need to get it scoped? What's going on here? But the thing is, you see Crawford, doing his workout videos and you get pumped about it. You're like, all right, man, he looks strong. He looks good to go. He looks cut. He looks lean. He looks ready to go. And then he pops up on pup. So you're kind of like, man. So Jason Turner, we need Griffin, especially since Crawford is on the pup list, meaning he's not ready to roll. $8 million. It's a business. Got someone who can reform. So, yeah, man, Everson Griffin. I think he's looking. The last thing I saw, Griffin was looking for $11 to $12 million range for the season, which is doable. I know some people want Jadeveon Clowney, but they're reporting that this guy wants $17 million in the. I just don't see that happening from the Cowboys. For me, you get a better deal with Everson Griffin. We have Coach Edwards on our staff now. He knows Everson Griffin intimately. He knows the ins and outs of it. Of that player. So for me, if they were to make a move, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, didn't Stephen Jones or Will McClay said that they might make a move and add another player here? I mean, it's kind of a generic statement, but
yeah, I don't think they're done. I mean, Stephen Jones would tell you all day long till you're blue in the face. Player acquisition is 365 days. Yeah. And they're evaluating everything. Who opts out, who doesn't opt out. Who's on the bubble. Is Everson Griffin better than what we got in here right now? How's our second and third depth looking? So they're not done looking regardless because Stephen Jones, it's 365 days a year player acquisition for him.
Absolutely. Great comment here by Dak Attack. I would love to see Cheeto Awuzie get his name thrown around in the turnover ratio category. Absolutely. I'm a fan of Cheeto Awuzie. If he's in a contract year, he's not going to move to safety. I know that this was kind of the offseason chatter, talking about, hey, all of a sudden they want to move everybody who was in the secondary to safety position. The fact is it'll be Cheeto there opposite Trayvon Diggs or Daryl Worley probably. Kennedy's out the mix now, obviously. Anthony Brown. But Cheeto, Mike, we've talked about him. Coaching. Was the coaching of Chris Richard the issue there? He wasn't – I think he followed, Chris Richard's coaching to the T, and I think that hurt him. Jordan Lewis, not so much. And we saw Jordan Lewis go off path and make plays for the team. So – thoughts on Cheeto Awuzie here with the new coaching staff, Mike?
Cheeto went to a DB coach, and he was like, hey, I really need help with my technique, and this is what we're doing. And the coach's like, all right, we'll do this. And Cheeto's like, well, I can't. They won't let us do that. He was like, okay, we'll do this. I can't. They won't let me do this. You know, he was like, well, what can you do? This is the only thing I can do. Can you help me out with this technique? He's like, no, that's an old beat out technique. That don't even work. And that's the story of Chidobe Awuzie and his career with Chris Richard, who I was completely 1,000% wrong on. I'll admit that. And I think that who's that CB coach that we got from the Packers? He used to play for the Packers. What's his name?
Well, we got the coach.
We got the A&M coach, right?
We got the A&M coach for safeties, and then we got the coach for who used to play for the Eagles. Obviously,
was it the Eagles?
Yeah, he was. Oh man, what is his name? It's not Asante Samuel. It's a.
I think you said it last week too.
Let me know in the comments, guys. The name is escaping me.
Al Harris. Yes.
Al Harris. Al Harris. Yeah, man, a great addition to Al Harris, and I think that his play style is really. Any guys that watched Al Harris growing up, with the Eagles, gave us fits, played well there with the Green Bay Packers. He did play with the Packers, and he, played with the Saints as well. So, a well-rounded player there. So, I'm interested to see how he coaches these players up. Turn your head. We saw too many times where these people were like Batman. Batman in his Batman suit. He couldn't turn his neck. Let's get that head looking back. Let's get on the swivel. Let's get that ball, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to see some aggressive corner play. Tell HaHa, hey, I think that they're going to do this here on this route. I watched film study. I'm going to jump it. Mm-hmm. I need you to have my back. Do something aggressive. I know we harped on Brendan Carr a lot, and he only did it one time when he jumped the route in the overtime game with the Steelers many years back. I think it was like 8 years ago or whatever. But give me a corner that's going to take a chance and go get the ball. Marcus Peters did that early in his career, and his gamble was ridiculous. It always paid off for him. Watch your film, trust your eyes, go get the ball. That's what I want. I want an aggressive, in-your-face corner, Joe. Is that too much to ask?
No, and it's really a great point because, even going back to Byron Jones out of Connecticut, he had ball hawking skills coming out of Connecticut. He had interceptions under his belt. He got here to Dallas, moved him out of position to safety, and the way they coached these guys up, he never really got any interceptions, but at Connecticut he did. So you kind of have to ask yourself, why are these players making interceptions at the collegiate level, but then when they come over here to Dallas, it disappears. So, it has to be the coaching, and you did hear it from these players. Whether it was Orlando Scandrick or one of these other players, they kind of brought it out. Like, hey, we're kind of dealing with some of these issues there in the secondary. So we'll see what happens there with that. But here's a great question, Mike, from Asmodeus. Do you anticipate any more Cowboy opt-outs before the deadline?
The deadline's August 4th, August 3rd, August 4th. One of those 2 days. I wouldn't be surprised. It's all about the feel of things, right? Back in my younger days, I go to house parties, and if I didn't like the feel of it, I'd leave. And these players, if they don't like the feel of it, if they don't feel like it's airtight, as Patrick Mahomes said it was over there in Kansas City, these guys are human. They got a human family. I wouldn't be surprised. If more players, especially on the Cowboys, opt out. But I think Jerry's running a tight ship over there. He knows what he's doing. He's been attending all these meetings. Hell, he was the first one back into the Star. So I think I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think that there'll be any more players. I think there's too many leaders on this football team that you can turn to if you think about opting out, and they might be able to keep you back in it.
Great point on the leaders because, DeMarcus Lawrence, obviously one of the ones that was kind of toying with the conversation, before all this happened. You see him say, hey, man, I'm good with it. I'm one of the defensive captains. I'm in. I'm playing. So I think that kind of sets a tone. But, maybe you do. Maybe you do see some of these on the cusp type of players that might do it. Stephen Guidry, he didn't have a shot. Maybe practice squad. Kennedy that kind of surprised me a little bit because I know they like to speed. Kennedy has a lot of speed. I think he could have competed well, So that one, I think, was probably more of a family situation where, like, hey, I got to do safety first. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if you do see some of these players on the cusp, maybe another undrafted player, or maybe somebody who's like, man, I have no shot at this roster. I'm gonna call it in. So we'll see. Great question though.
Absolutely.
What else we got out here, Mike? Any of these here that pop out? I'm scrolling through these guys. I appreciate everybody. We got a very busy chat box. I appreciate all you guys. Make sure you hit like on this live stream if you're catching on the live, or if you're catching on replay, hit like as well. Appreciate you, all you guys.
Oh, Dan the Man Cunningham. You see that one? It's up a little bit.
Dan the Man Cunningham. Let me see if I can find that one. How far up? Let's see. This one here, Mike. Is this the one you're talking about?
Yep. I'm wondering if the reason Dak hasn't signed long term is it because Mike McCarthy wants to see if Dak can make the adjustment to his scheme. Mike's on a 5-year deal. If Dak can't, he'd be stuck. Do you think? And Dad, the Man Cunningham, I think this is a great topic because there was a lot of we agreed on the money, right? We agreed on the money. Now we just got to work out the years. And then, the deadline came. Dak had to intervene. Hey, what's going on here? Well, what's your take on this one? Like, do you think Mike McCarthy said, let's see how Dak does do in a true West Coast system, or is it just the deadline ran out? What's your take, Joe?
Honestly, I think the deadline ran out. We know that Dak kind of made a push here towards the end, and maybe there was an issue with the agent bumbling this up. I kind of feel like it's kind of sounded like that's what happened there. But it's kind of hard to tell. But either way, both sides kind of protect themselves. Dak is still in the driver's seat with the leverage, obviously, because if the Cowboys want to franchise tag him again, it's $37 point something million. Cowboys don't want that though. For the Cowboys, if he's your guy, and I mean he's done everything that you want, under Jason Garrett. I mean, for me, what Dak Prescott did under Jason Garrett is impressive for me. Now you get Mike McCarthy in here, who has a track record of elevating players, of elevating starting quarterbacks.
Yeah,
and and I broke this down in a video. Does Mike McCarthy need his own quarterback? And the thing was, well, he doesn't, because Aaron Rodgers wasn't drafted by McCarthy. It was Mike Sherman. So McCarthy came into this deal with somebody already there. Let me groom this guy, okay? He comes here to Dallas. This player was thrown into the fire because of Romo, the injury. So he already has NFL experience, but I feel that there's still some ceiling there for Dak Prescott. And I think, McCarthy sees that. But we'll see, man. It's going to be the topic of the season, no doubt. I'm pretty sure if we lose a game here and there, you're going to have the players saying, or you'll hear fans, this isn't the guy. We're going to move on from him. But then if he has a clutch game, man, we got to get this guy signed up now and prepare for the big money. If he has another good season and they get deep into the playoffs, that number will go up. It's just the market, I don't think it'll be 35. It could go up to 38, $40 million. That's just the fact of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think that's a great answer. I mimic everything you said there. Blue Silver, he said, what's your take on Donovan Wilson? Love from Mexico.
Donovan Wilson. I'm a Donovan Wilson fan myself. I love what him and Luke Gifford did for this defense last preseason, but injuries derailed them, and this coaching staff, as stubborn as they are, didn't want to get him back in there. Gifford, on the other hand, they did bring him back, and he got hurt again. So I'm hoping that this isn't an injury-prone type of player, because he really showed that he has the ability to recognize the play. He's in the right place at the right time. He's a really good tackler, great hands, and makes interceptions. But back to Donovan Wilson, Mike. Yeah. The same deal. it seemed like each preseason game he was around the ball making interceptions, jumping routes, like we say, making moves. So now he gets his safety coach in the mix. I think this is a player that maybe some fans were kind of sleeping on because the whole love affair with Jamal Adams and this and that. That deal just was not going to happen. Two first-round picks, a third-round pick, and let's wreck that. Too rich. So I'm a Donovan Wilson fan.
Absolutely,
all the way, man. I am.
All the way. Yeah, me too.
The lunatic here, going back to Dak Prescott. We were 6th in scoring last offseason, 27 points a game. That's pretty good, but 16th in the red zone, right? Settled too many field goals. Yeah, field goal wars. I hated the field goal wars, man. And then we didn't have a good kicker for most of the season. It bit us. We lost a couple games just off having a bad kicker, but also the inability to punch it in drove me crazy. And Jason Garrett sometimes just didn't have it. He didn't have the
killer instinct.
He didn't have the killer instinct to go for it on some of these 4th and short, 4th and 1. You got Zeke. You have this offensive line. Will Dak have more TDs inside the 10? I'm going to say yes, the lunatic, because you have more weapons now. I feel confident that Mike McCarthy's going to utilize Tony Pollard more in some bubbles, some screens. CeeDee Lamb will be in the mix. Blake Jarwin, everybody's saying that Blake Jarwin's going to be something for us. I think he will be too. He's a good wide tight end. He can get down the field, and his catch radius is good. So, yeah, man, I think Dak will have more touchdowns inside the 10. What do you think, Mike?
We talked about the killer instinct in Jason Garrett. I'm going to go to the personnel that was on the field. Jason Witten, the Y option, right? That was his big retirement speech from Jason Garrett, Jason Witten. But he just ain't the same anymore in that Y option. And that Y option, breaking it down, 2014, 2015, yes, but in 2019 it just didn't work out, and they're in the red zone. They botched a lot of the predictable running calls in the red zone. They didn't give Jarwin enough sense to go put him out there. I think the red zone flaws have always been there. And you talk about Amari Cooper's home and away disadvantages and advantages. That didn't help the red zone situation either. But, CeeDee, you talked about the new weapons, right? CeeDee Lamb, Dez Bryant, what was the best is just throwing the ball in the air, getting it, touchdown. Michael Gallup still coming to his own and trying to mimic that. I think you'll see a lot more of that maybe this year. Amari Cooper needs to be more available on home and away games. And I think you got to go heavy set personnel. I mean, we had a guy like Cameron Filmling and going in there to bring your swing tackle, and it just didn't work out down there when you were supposed to. And we winded up in what, Joe? The field goal wars.
Yeah, field goal wars. And great pickup on the personnel packages. Jumbo packages that sometimes just weren't good. Cam Fleming. Now, Cowboys, the belldozer. This, I think, might be a low-key, sneaky, really good acquisition, especially in run blocking. Dalton Schultz, I think he was coming along. It's taking a little bit longer to make that transition from NFL to the pros. I think he has an opportunity to pop off. But belldozer, he's proven that that's really his commodity, is the blocking. And
that's his Krabby Patty formula right there.
That's his deal there. So I think that'll help as well. Get behind this guy. Let follow your lead. Follow Zach Martin. Put Belldozer there on the end, and let's go to work. Let's knock it in there. Let's punch it in for sure. Great question, the lunatic. Appreciate it, bro.
Yes, appreciate you. That's a great question.
Here's one for you, Mike. I like this one here. Anytime we get a question about Tyler Biadasz, I love it. Do you guys think Tyler Biadasz will get some rest behind Connor Williams or even push him? I know he plays center, but I see Looney there. What's your thoughts there, Mike?
Yeah, I just touched on that earlier this show with a similar question. Joe Looney's going to be your number one for now. Biadasz, that's his protege. McGovern. Now Connor Williams is going to be guard. So maybe he means Connor McGovern. Penn State, he played a bit of everything there. But I think I think it's going to be Joe Looney, Tyler Biadasz, and McGovern, and we'll see how that battles out. But you have to give it to Joe Looney, who has the experience and the veteran presence there first.
Yeah, and I think just because of the no preseason, I think that's where a lot of the veterans do have the upper hand. So to start it off, probably Looney, but Biadasz, Mike McCarthy went to the Wisconsin game to look at this guy firsthand. So that to me says something big time. Remington Award winner, the best center in all of collegiate sports. So that's good. If he is truly over some of these little nickups, little issues he's had injury wise that really didn't affect him that much. I mean, he still played really well. You could come out of this with a major steal in the 4th round, somebody that was rated, first and second round before some of these injuries popped up. So great question.
And I misread his question too. He says, I know he plays center, but I can see Looney playing center, I could see Looney play in there. Yes, Looney's going to play the center. Tyler Biadasz is going to be behind him. You'll see some competition between McGovern and Connor Williams. I'm sorry, I misread your question there. But I think Connor Williams is going to be your starter. Joe Looney is going to be your starter for the center. McGovern, Tyler Biadasz, those guys are going to – mainly McGovern is going to push Williams, and Biadasz is going to push Joe Looney.
And, I over Mike McCarthy's tenure with offensive linemen, I think he did a really good job, and obviously he's working in conjunction with Ted Thompson and the other GMs that have been there in Green Bay, but still, I like the players that they've had there, on that offensive line. The Packers have had a pretty good offensive line for the most part. They're never really considered elite, but they were in the top of the NFL. These guys were brawlers. I think when I think about the Packers offensive line, I got kind of like that blue collar type of feeling from them.
Yeah.
And I think Tyler Biadasz is that
he's
type
blue
of
collar
player.
all the way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really what attracted Mike McCarthy and could really bode well for the Cowboys offensive line for the future. Great question, Army Mom Heather C. Appreciate that from you.
Thank you, Heather C.
To Lunatic with the donation. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. A long-time follower of the channel. During McCarthy's 13 years in Green Bay, he has 8 years in the top 10 red zone scoring. That's a great stat line. 5 years there, top 5. Cowboys will have similar results. Yes, that's what you got to look at. You got to look at the history of the coach, what he's done in the past, and great point there, the Lunatic, because this is an area that the Cowboys have really suffered. That red zone just killed us in so many games. Field goal wars, it just doesn't cut it. You can't answer touchdowns with field goals. The math just doesn't work. So let's get that red zone fixed.
Yeah, and not only did he have that red zone fixed, he had Crosby there for his field goal kicker, who's a pretty good kicker, but he didn't rely on a pretty good kicker. Mike McCarthy, that killer instinct went in. But we are going to find out, was it Mike McCarthy's offense or was it Aaron Rodgers, right? And that's pretty much the tell of it, right? We're about to see, was it Belichick or was it Brady? Now we're about to see, was it Mike McCarthy or was it Rodgers? And I have a feeling him being the quarterback guru he is, it was Mike McCarthy. And we're going to see those results in the Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys fan 1980 in the house. Thank you, bro.
What's up, brother?
Go follow Dallas Cowboys fan 1980. He's
Absolutely
back. He's back. I love seeing his videos out there. When he has a new video come out, I go check him out. He's one of my favorites. We hung out with him there at the NFL draft. He's a great guy. We did.
Yeah, I got a picture of all three of us together.
Yeah, great. That was a great time, man. We gotta do that again. Let's see what else we got here. Appreciate everybody in the comment box, everybody. I think we're coming down to the end of it here. We really want to spend an hour here with you guys. Thanks for giving us a part of your evening.
Absolutely.
It's always great to talk Cowboys with you guys and get away with, relax, get away from the work, get away from the outside craziness and talk Cowboys football. So I appreciate all you guys. I think we're going to wrap it up here. Mike, let everybody know where they can find you now and what's going on with your channel now.
Absolutely. Dallas Cowboy football news has been a part of me for 7 years. And I was talking to Joe behind the scenes, who really influenced a lot of the name change and graphic designs. So first of all, thank you, Joe, for that. But it was more of, yeah, yes, I love my Dallas Cowboys, but Dallas Cowboy football news, everyone loved it. And I loved it too. It was part of me for 7 years, but it was time to rebrand. It was time to make a change. So officially, I'm known starting as of yesterday, Cowboys Corner. We'll be putting out content for you guys. Just getting the Dallas Cowboys out of there, putting something Cowboys in, and obviously, corner. I'm always in the Cowboys corner, repping them, doing whatever I got to do. So the name just fit perfect with me. And but yeah, so I don't have a Facebook page yet. Facebook's being a pain right now. They won't let me change the Facebook page name to Cowboys Corner. But I am on Twitter _ Cowboys Corner, and Cowboys Corner right here on YouTube, guys. So give me a like, give me a follow. Give me give me a mention, give me a DM, start the conversation.
There it is, man. Everybody go follow Mike over there, Cowboys Corner, if you haven't already. Give him a shout out, give him a subscription. Great guy. Great co-host to the Frisco Report, guys. I appreciate all you guys joining us tonight, like I said. And we'll be back Tuesday for the next Frisco Report. I'm sure we'll have a lot more news then and covering this Cowboys team. So catch you guys for the next one. Take care, everybody. Peace.